Hey friends, today I have a step-by-step guide on how to create natural definition using highlighting and contour. I'm gonna take all the guesswork out of it and make it super simple. Let's get started. Today we're gonna be working with Jane Iredale's new concealer, the Pure Match Concealer. I'm so excited I can finally share this concealer. I've actually been using this since my visit to the Berkshires in August. I've been playing with this for a couple of months now. This just recently launched. As you guys know, Jane Iredale is a brand that I adore. I first discovered them through their amazing products, and then I've actually gotten to know the people behind the brand over this last year, and they're just phenomenal. It's just a company that I'm so proud to work with and support and share their amazing products with you guys. So I do want to thank Jane Iredale for partnering with me on this video. So we're starting with 3 of their concealers. I have them in 3 shades. I have 7W, which is going to be my highlight shade. It's slightly lighter than my skin tone. I have 8N, which is pretty much my skin tone. It's more neutral. And then I have 14N, which is deeper. And this is what we're going to use to kind of bronze, warm up, and also create some definition around the face. So I've got these 3 shades. What's really beautiful about this product is that it is a product that can be used under the eyes or on the face. It has a blend of oil and waxes so that it just really blends out really beautifully on the skin. It hydrates the skin. There are antioxidants in here to help protect the skin from environmental stressors. It's just a really beautiful, nice, clean formula. It is synthetic, fragrance-free. Okay, you guys, I feel like that's a lot of information. Let's go ahead and get into the application. So when you're thinking about contouring and highlighting, I always like to tell people to imagine that a light, and actually there literally is a light right here. So this is actually a perfect example because you can see right here on camera where the light is hitting my face. You see this highlight here. When I turn my cheek, you see the light hitting here. You see the light hitting down the bridge of my nose. That is where you will highlight. And then below that is where we see shadows. It's where shadows are cast. So that's where you would contour and kind of create some more definition. Now, with that said, you can always take your face shape, and depending on what you want to enhance or what you want to create the illusion of, you can tweak that. But basically where you highlight and contour right below it, you want to make sure that the highlight and contour are together. You don't want to highlight and then contour way down below. They need to kind of pair up together. For this particular video, we're going to go with contour and highlight first, and then go in with your foundation. Now, there's really not, is one better than the other? Is one right or wrong? They're both perfectly fine. You will get a little different results depending on which technique you do. I find that applying your foundation first and then contour and highlight, you might get a little bit of a heavier look because you have foundation and then you're building on top of that additional product. Whereas we go in and contour and highlight first, we can kind of apply our foundation around that. It also gives you the opportunity to kind of blend out the contour and highlight a little bit better or make it look a little bit more natural. So there's some more flexibility there. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with the contour first. So I'm gonna go in with the shade 14N. And there's a few ways you can apply it. I like my contour to look very natural. So this is my favorite way to apply it. I actually like to apply it to the back of my hand and work from there. This just allows you to work it into the brush or your finger or your sponge, whatever tool you like to use to blend. It allows you to work it into there first rather than applying it directly to the skin and running the risk of applying too much. So I'm gonna go in with the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A506. This is a great brush to contour. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of this product on the tip of the brush. I'm not saturating the whole brush, and I'm just gonna kind of pre-blend it into my hand. Then I'm just gonna go and create this contour, and I'm just gonna kind of run down the side of my nose. And imagine there's like a line that kind of connects to the brow. You can take this all the way to the brow if you want. I'm not going to. I'm gonna keep it a little bit more natural. We're gonna do a slightly lighter contour than that, but you can certainly take it up to the brow if you really wanna tie this whole in. This kind of gives more of a glam chiseled effect. Like if I were whenever I do photo shoots, we always contour right in this area. I just wanna show you kind of a practical contouring technique that you can use daily if you want to create some more dimension. So there you have it. I've just got it, you know, right there on the nose. Now I'm gonna take a different brush and I'm gonna blend this in. I'm using the 110. You can stick with the A506 if you want. I'm using this because this is actually gonna absorb some product, a little bit of product, not nearly as much as a sponge would, but it's gonna absorb a little bit of product. So I'm gonna do this because again, I'm trying to create a really natural contour. And I'm just gonna bounce this on top of the product I just applied. I'm not dragging it back and forth. I'm not pulling it it down, I'm just bouncing it on top, and it's gonna blend it out for me and blend out the edges. I don't want this to disappear, and if I go back and forth, I run the risk of really shearing this out too much and just kind of removing it, really. So just bounce it off until you get a nice blend. Do you see that? You still see the definition, but we don't see a harsh line. The beauty of contouring is you can blend it out as much as you want to create as much definition as you want. If you want a real chiseled, like, you know, strong definition, you don't have to blend out as much. And I find for photography, that's more of a technique. In real life though, if you want it to look really natural, you wanna make sure you have a good blend. And at this point, you can kind of evaluate and decide if you wanna have a little more. I'm actually gonna go in with the tip of the 110, and I'm gonna apply a little bit more right in here. Now you don't have to worry about it completely blending into your skin. Remember, we're gonna go over this with foundation shortly, and we're gonna tie it all together. The other areas that we like to contour are the cheekbones, right? We like to kind of create that definition. This is one of the most common places to contour. So I'm gonna go back in with that A506, and I am going to take it kind of where the middle of my ear and kind of run it past the hair, and I'm just gonna create a small little line right there. I'm not taking it too far over because again, I'm gonna blend it and it's gonna pull it a little further over anyway. And I really just wanna carve out this little hollow of the cheek. This is gonna kind of also work as a bronzer. When you're looking at bronzer and contour colors, bronzers are typically gonna run you more warm and give you the illusion of like sun-kissed skin. And then contours kind of look more like a shadow, so more of a cooler tone product. But what's nice about this is you can still get that definition even from a warm shade. I'm doing the same technique. I'm just bouncing this brush. And the reason you wanna bounce it on top of the product again versus swiping is because you don't want to move the placement of it too much. You really don't. If you get to a point where you're like, okay, I need to blend it out a little more, just run it back and forth directly on top of where you applied it rather than spreading it and making that area spread out too far. Okay, so it's very clear now we have more structure to the face. Don't worry, I know we still need to blend this all together, but that's when the foundation and the highlight and all that come in. But we are making very good progress. You can clearly see the definition that we have. I am gonna take a little bit of this on the 110, and I'm just gonna kind of run this right here in the hairline. I don't have a large forehead, so I don't wanna bring this too low. I don't wanna shrink the size of my forehead at all. I just want this to look more natural, and the way it's gonna look more natural is if we tie the whole thing together. This brush is really great for this specific technique right at the hairline. And in this manner, because I do want it to be real subtle and sheer, I am going back and forth rather than just pressing. And the beauty is if you get it too sheer, you blend too much of it out, just add a little more. You really can't mess it up by over blending or using too little. You can always go and add more. If you apply too much product, that's a little harder to fix, but it can be done. Okay, here we are. I like this so far. Okay, now let's go in and highlight. So when you think about highlighting, you want to think of that light hitting. I mean, it's very clear as day to me because of my lovely key light where that light is hitting. Now, I do want to say with highlighting with concealer on my face, less is more, okay? So you really just need a very small amount, and I'm gonna do the same technique. So I'm taking 7W. I'm actually gonna take the 110 brush, and I'm gonna use the tip of this, and I'm just going to apply this in the forehead, and I'm actually sweeping it up. I do want to shear this product out. I want a little bit of a highlight, but I don't want a whole lot of product applied there. I want it to look natural. I want it to look beautiful now, and I want it to look beautiful in 5 or 6 hours. I want it to look natural. Okay, and then I am gonna take a little bit, I'm actually gonna go back to that A506. I'm gonna kind of dry clean it to take off that dark shade. We're gonna go into the light shade, and we're just gonna kind of run this right here in the center of the brow, and I'm gonna run it down the nose a little bit. And I'm also gonna take a little bit and kind of apply underneath where that darker shade was. Applying it just underneath it is gonna kind of make that pop a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm gonna go back in with my 110, and we're gonna blend this all out. Now you guys, you can certainly do this technique with your fingers. You don't need a ton of brushes to do this technique, but if you have these brushes, this is another great use of them. I've had a couple of photo shoots this month, and so this whole process was done on me, and both times I had my makeup done for these photo shoots, I was like, I'm gonna do this every day. I am gonna do this every day because it just makes such a difference in your makeup. Perfect, lovely. Okay, next, the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and conceal underneath the eye. And I'm actually gonna use both of these. I'm gonna use 7W and 8N. The thing about concealing underneath the eyes is we typically have darkness underneath there. I know we all want a brighter under eye, so we want that highlight shade, but we also need a shade that is pigmented enough and deep enough to conceal that darkness, because I've said this before, so I apologize if this is like the 100th time you heard this, but when when you have a bruise and you put white pantyhose over it, you're really not fooling anybody. So you have to neutralize and cancel out that darkness with something with a little more peach to it, a little more color, and then you can go back in and brighten. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use these two. I'm gonna save the step of applying one and then applying another on top. And I'm just going to apply them both. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the shade that is more of my skin tone. And first what I'm gonna do actually, since it's underneath my eyes, I'm gonna prep with a little bit of hyaluronic serum. This is from Iredale. I'm just gonna use a tiny amount. I always like to prep with an eye serum or a hyaluronic serum right before I put concealer on these days. My under eyes are so dry. So when I put concealer on, if I haven't just freshly moisturized my skin, it can look really heavy. So let's go ahead, and not right away. And it doesn't matter what concealer I use. It, like, as the day progresses, that area needs extra hydration. Okay, so let's go in first with 7W. We're gonna start with 7W, and I'm just gonna place a little bit of this right in the inner corner. I just love this texture. It's nice and lightweight, but it's great coverage. And then I'm gonna go in with 8N. So I did the lighter one in the inner corner, and then I'm gonna do like a little kind of dot or a little stroke in the middle, and then one in the outer corner right there. And I'm gonna go back in with an A506. This is not the one I used for contour. This is one that I've used in the past for concealer because I don't want to get any darkness, you know, underneath the eye. And I'm just gonna go and blend these out. And the two shades will blend together, creating the perfect balance of concealing and canceling darkness and also brightening underneath the eye. Oh, this concealer is so good. It's just such great coverage and lightweight, and you really just need a little bit, you guys. You don't need much. I'm gonna take whatever's left, I'm gonna kind of run it up underneath my brow. This is another area that's good to highlight. Perfect. Oh, so good. Okay, let's go and do the other side. If you ever feel like you've applied too much, and I almost feel like I applied a little too much here, I'm gonna take my brush while I'm in the middle of application, and I'm gonna kind of dry clean it. I'm gonna run it on a paper towel, just kind of removing any excess, and then go back in there and blend that out. Another tip, if you ever apply too much foundation or concealer, any cream type of product or liquid, take a damp beauty sponge after you've applied your makeup and just like press it on top. That'll absorb any extra product. Because what happens when we apply too much makeup, whether it's concealer or foundation or cream blush or cream contour, throughout the day, it might look good after you first apply it, but throughout the day, it is really going to settle in texture in the skin, cause patchiness or clumping or just moving and melting off the skin. So it's all about applying the right amount of makeup on the face. Oh, that's so good. Look at that. So good and so subtle. This is not a super snatched face. This is just enhancing my features and defining them. Now, remember, I have not yet applied foundation. However, I've applied quite a bit of concealer to my face. So I'm not gonna go in and apply a full layer of foundation. That would just be overdoing it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with the Iredale Pure Press Mineral Base Foundation, and I'm just gonna do a soft little light layer of this kind of around where we applied the product, just to give a little bit of coverage and just kind of fuse this all together. And I'm gonna use the 104 BK Beauty brush for this. The reason I chose this brush is because it's large and fluffy, meaning it's gonna pick up a little product and apply a little product. It's not a dense brush, it's not a high impact brush, and I really want a lot of control. Less is more here. So I'm just gonna go right in here with the tip, and I'm just using the tip so I can kind of have a little more control over placement. And I'm just going to pat this kind of around where we applied the other product. I'm gonna try not to, go over the contour or the bronzer. I'm just gonna go around it. A little bit on the forehead. And then I'm gonna switch and I'm gonna move into a smaller brush. This is the 113. And I'm gonna take this just to kind of get right in here, because that 104 was a little big and I didn't want to go on top of that nose contour. So we're just gonna use the 113 and kind of press this right around here. I have heard from so many of you about this product right here that you love it. And to seal everything in, I'm going in with the Palm Mist Hydration Spray. I'm just gonna, oh, so good, I love that. That's like my favorite step. So, so good, love it. So now we have the base of our makeup done. We have our foundation, we have our bronzer contour, and we have our highlight. And it's very natural, but you can clearly see more structure to the face, but in a very natural and complementary way. So now that I have the rest of my makeup on, you can really see how the contouring and highlighting just gives this really subtle foundation for an overall look. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this type of content, I'm gonna place another video here that you might like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.